Well, hi everyone. Welcome to Hidden Mysteries. And I'm Mimi, your co-host for this evening, and I'm here with Reverend Maria DeAndrea. Hi, how you doing, Maria?
Wonderful. It's always a terrific day, and it always gets better and better.
Okay,
we're working on it's always getting better and better.
due to all the challenges in life. Yes. So this is September 2nd, 2015, and we're in the New York area, and we're here the first Wednesday of every month so that we can discuss many different fascinating, mysterious concepts and legends, and we have a real doozy one for you tonight. And so in case you don't know who Reverend Maria is, she's an internationally known psychic from Budapest, Hungary, and a European shaman. And she's also a published author of various books and a spiritual life coach, metaphysical practitioner, and a public speaker. And for many of you if you would like to get in touch with Maria, you can get her at mariadeandrea.com, and you can follow the link below this description of the show. Or you can get her at 631-559-1248. And I'll repeat it again at the end of the evening, at the end of the show. And if anybody would like to call us and to speak with us, we're at 929-477-1080. And you could also join us in the chat room if you have any questions or comments there. Just write them in, and I'll give them to Maria. So in the meantime, our topic for this evening, we've got a really interesting one today, the ancient gods. According to Edgar Cayce, they were beings who immersed themselves in matter, some losing touch with their celestial nature in doing so, while others retained their connectedness, thus becoming gods. When I was a teenager, personally, I remember spending an entire summer just reading about Greek mythology and immersing myself in its tales. And I was just like enamored with these tales, these stories, because they would, illustrate how the seasons came about and how, the world came about. And it was just absolutely fascinating with all those personalities and all these beings that, for these tales, once walked the earth, But did they actually exist? We're going to find out today. So, and what are their connection to us today? Because after all, several centuries have gone past since they were very, I guess, very active in this world, according to these stories. So we're going to take a look at this topic right now. So let's plunge right into it, Maria. What is a deity, and have they ever existed? And how is that for getting straight to the point?
That's what I love. You and I are so subtle.
I like getting right to it. If I want to
know, we don't play.
I just want to know. No, don't play.
Well, first of all, they've always existed, and they will always be here. Now, I find that a deity really may be looked upon as a god or goddess from the etheric world. That's really the way we look at it. So they're from a different realm, and part of the hierarchy rank where they come below God. That's how we look at it. Now, different cultures look at it differently, which is fine. There's never a conflict. Nobody's trying to convert anybody else either way. However, we look at it as all the gods and goddesses are below God. So they reside in a separate realm. I really look at them as, interdimensional beings. So they are both positive and negative. Just like, when you look at people and they go, oh, this country is all negative. It's like, no, they have positive people, they have negative people. Or they go, oh, everybody in that country is friendly. I'm sure there's somebody in that country that isn't.
That woke up
so it's pretty much the same thing. You have positive and negative. Right. As beings. And deities have been really on the etheric plane long before humanity. So you can call upon them for their existence, but you always want to make sure that you're calling on the positive ones. It's really, really important.
Okay, I got a question because you said it right off the bat. They really exist. How do we're all humans are from Missouri. They want to be shown. How do we know that they really exist? How do we know? they've been stories all this time for thousands of years. How do we know?
Well, actually, a lot of it has to do with your belief system, and that's why I said we're not trying to convert anybody. Okay.
Right.
As an example, many of us, really believe in God. Now, we can't physically prove God, but you have people that pray to God or that believe God will help them, and eventually whatever they're working on comes to pass. Now, part of it is their mindset, because metaphysically and spiritually, our thoughts that go out, or the power of the word, our thoughts that go out eventually create our reality. So part of it is our belief system. So as an example, I know you and I have talked about this before, but I do this full time, on all the metaphysical subjects. I don't have a 9-to-5 job. This is what I do full time, and I have never not made a bill. Never. Now, if you explain that to somebody, they're not going to understand how, and honestly, I don't understand how either, but my belief system is that I'm taken care of. So if I'm doing something that's, say, a ritual that deals with deities under God, or if I'm just trusting God, which is really what I'm doing, either way, even at the last second, something comes in. So if you're believing in a deity, whoever it is, as an example, some people believe in Venus or Aphrodite, and when they're focused on their right partner romantically coming in, and they're asking for that help, or they're doing a ritual to create the situation, the combination of calling in that particular deity and the combination of the thought or the thought forms that you're sending out eventually bring it in, or finance or whatever you're working on. And I find we're not, like I said, we're not trying to convert anybody, but whatever the person's belief system is, if it's strong, you're actually going to call somebody in to help you. The point is to make sure that you're only calling in somebody positive. Makes a very big difference. You don't want to accidentally make a boo-boo.
So how powerful are they?
Well, extremely. First of all, they have the abilities. Remember I said under God or under whoever your main source is, but both the goddess and the god, with the little g, represent the female and the male energies, the counterparts of God. So they possess a lot of power. It's very real energy, and it's just formed in a different dimension. So we can actually form deities ourselves unconsciously, as I've mentioned on a previous show. So as an example, in forming deities, say in ancient times, and we're thinking Europe now because I'm from Europe, so it's an old story. So in Europe, in Hungary, they have little elves. That's not what they call them. In Hungarian, it's called Mano, M-A-N-O. So they have little elves. And there was this one village. It was actually pre-Renaissance. And they had this little village that was under siege all the time. If one person didn't rule it, somebody else ruled it. But somebody always ruled it other than themselves. And they were very connected to nature and to earth energies. And there was this mushroom that was much bigger than the norm. So they decided that must be because that's where the king of the elves, which is a different name, but the king of the elves lives. And they started to worship it, and they kept saying, they're asking this king of the elves to come and to save their village and to make sure that they're all right and nobody's hurt and nobody takes them over. Now, they kept putting power into it. Now, eventually the mushroom's going to die. So what they did was, because that's the way nature is, it rebuilds and it goes back to the earth. So they built like a little mushroom. So then they started worshiping there because it's just like when we have statues to represent Buddha, and, it's a representation. So putting that energy into it. Now, centuries later, as an example, if somebody walks by that, they're actually going to see the king of the elves because there's so many people with such powerful energy focused on it. That eventually they're going to form that on the etheric plane. Now, actually, because everybody was so focused on it, they were really putting out also so much positive energy that they actually created an energy wall. So they really weren't under siege that much longer. So again, now they gave more power to the elf because they're looking at it as the elf king must have saved them instead of looking at it as, they helped themselves. But eventually they do form that deity, okay? And in different times we tune into them more and more. So we still do that nowadays with rituals and just interdimensional connections and focus. So we can still tune in, same as they did.
Really fascinating. We should talk about Hungarian folklore at one point. Might be quite interesting. We
have fun things. We have dragons.
Yeah. oh, wow! You have a fun heritage.
Oh yeah.
Now you've mentioned that multiple cultures worship the same deities, but gave them different names. Which ones in particular? Because I know that the Romans, for instance, took some of the Greek deities and changed their names.
Oh, sure. Well, that's like in different cultures. They tuned into the same deity. So, for example, the Greeks had Poseidon, which was the god of water, and then Poseidon also enforced the laws of nature. And then the ancient Romans gave their water god the name of Neptune, known for also helping sailors in a storm. Same god, different culture, different name, but it's the same being. So you have to remember that interdimensionally, when you're calling on one god, they're not limited by the laws of physics. So they can be in 80 million places at the same time. Their energy isn't like us where we have to physically be, at a job, on a train, at home. Yeah. That's why when you're thinking about deities, you can have so many people call them the deity in at the same time, and the deity will respond to everybody. It's not saying, oh, I'm too busy right now, I'm over at this person's house. You have to get online.
You have to leave a message after the beep.
Yeah, take a number.
Yeah. Well, because people automatically think in terms of physical laws and how they, you can't be in two places than one, at one time. So
exactly. That's like even when we're praying to saints, as an example. You have one saint, but you look at all the people praying to the same saint, and they're all getting help. Same principle. It's all interdimensional. And energy is really everywhere. Everything's made up of energy. Deities, us, the universe. So everything is connected, and it's not as limited on the other realms as it is here. It's a level of vibrational frequencies.
Right, because we have a denser, more, what we think is a more solid type of environment. But, and there's cause and effect here, whereas they can get right to the point. Which is the reason why I always want to get to the point of things,
Right.
I can't wait. I can't wait to get to things. Now, how do we know it wasn't a coincidence somehow that various cultures learned about these same gods and just decided to use them, just changing the names to protect the innocent?
I like that one. Well, it's like, different cultures were tuning into a source to get information, just like when we do anything psychic or intuitive or creative. Okay? So they were basically tuning into a source to get information, and though they were known under different names, there was the same energy. So according to, and there's actually something called the law of coincidence. So according to that law, if something happens after so many tries, and it goes beyond that of a coincidence, it's coming from intuition. I was trying to think of a word for it. It's more tuning into psychic or intuitive abilities, because past the point, you can't call it coincidence any longer. So, as an example, I just came out with a book recently, and it's called Simple Spells with Playing Cards, and actually it's on Amazon.com. So if someone, as an example, has a deck of cards and tries to get which card is likely to come up next, the first few tries may be coincidence. But after that, based on the percentage that you are getting right, then it falls into the realm of intuition. And it's funny because we work with scientists, and they're still trying to explain that. But they do know that it's past the law of coincidence.
Interesting. Well, it's like, what comes to mind is like a person who gambles, let's say they go to, I don't know, Las Vegas, and they they know their cards. You know, they're because I have a friend who does this. He says that he knows when, you know, like the first few tries, if he's winning, he's getting money. He knows that at some point he's going to start losing. So what he does is he cashes out, he waits a little while, and then he comes back in, because he knows that at some point it's almost like there's like a pattern there. Like, you know, it's like you go through a bit of a winning streak, and then it hits a peak, and then the house starts winning back their money.
Right.
So there
and
is
that's
some sort of and what's that?
I said, and that's considered intuition.
Ah, okay. The fact that he knows knows when to quit.
It's more that he would have an urge to stop. It's not like he's saying analytically, I'm going to go in there, I'm going to play 5 times, and then I'm done. Then I'll play another 5, and I'm done. So basically a lot of it is a pattern just from subconsciously noticing the pattern for a long term, and part of it is just intuition. So I would say it's usually a combination, but it's more intuition.
Yeah, because he really knows his stuff there. I tell you.
I know. I have a gentleman, one of my clients, for business, because most of my clients are business people, and one of my clients, he actually makes his living at gambling. And he has a couple of kids, so it's not like he's single, he's by himself, and if he doesn't make any money, so what? But he actually makes his living at gambling. And, it's the same thing as with your friend. He was saying sometimes you just know. It's like he'll plan to go somewhere, he'll get into the building or the casino, and it just won't feel right, and he'll walk out. Which, by the way, is pretty good, because I don't know if after going all the way there, if I turn around and walk out.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
And then he'll go back again. And when it feels right, he plays. When it doesn't, he doesn't even start.
Wow.
Yeah, but he looks at it as a job. It's not like, if I went and I was trying to do something gambling, I'd be going for fun and hopefully winning $8 billion.
Very hopefully.
But I wouldn't be going in with the same mindset as somebody that looks at it as their job or, professionally.
Yeah, that's a lot of pressure, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
Now, what would be the difference between praying to a deity and praying to God, for instance? Like, why call on them instead of perhaps your angels or your guides?
Well, part of it has to do, really with your belief system. So as an example, some people believe in angels, some people don't, and even the ones that do, when we're dealing with angels or archangels, first of all, it's all a hierarchy under God. So everybody has a job. That's like when you think of, and I don't mean it literally, I just can't think of another example, but when you think of a beehive, everybody has a job.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Right, except for the queen, who happens to just have a really good time and not have to do all those little jobs. So this is the same thing. This is, it's like you're thinking of God as your source, or whatever you're labeling your source. It can be God, divine power, the universe, whoever you resonate with. And everybody else is under that. So if you're looking as an example with your guides, you may feel more comfortable with your guides. You may not feel comfortable calling in a deity. On the other hand, especially in Europe, you may feel more comfortable calling in a deity. Okay? And if you look at the ancient rituals, they're really focused more on deities rather than your guide and angels. It doesn't mean they didn't work with them or relate to them. But when you're looking at rituals, they're looking at the calling in the ancient powers. So they're looking at the source with the deities is so ancient and through time has built so much focus and power that when you're calling in a deity, you're looking at somebody 100% in power coming in. Now, that's not saying that angels or archangels or your guides don't have power. It just depends on what you feel comfortable with. So if an angel's coming in because you called one, it's coming in also with power. It depends more on what your preference is. If I was calling in a deity, as an example, say Abadantia. Abadantia is a Greek goddess of abundance. So when you call in Abadantia, what you're doing is you're asking for prosperity in all areas of your life, but mainly financial, like when you think of the cornucopias around Thanksgiving, right? So now, if you're calling that power in your mind, you already know it's abundance because of the name. On the other hand, if you feel more comfortable calling in an angelic force or your guide, then that's who you should be calling in. But you call in whoever makes the connection better with you, whoever you resonate with. So if I believe that Abundancia is going to be stronger and quicker for me than, say, I'm thinking my guide is busy, okay, then what's going to happen is it's going to have more power because I'm letting it, I'm allowing it, I'm calling it in. If I'm calling in a deity, a god or a goddess, where I'm kind of like, well, maybe it'll work, maybe it's not going to work, let me see, I can guarantee it won't work because there's no power behind it and your connection isn't going to be there. So you always call in whatever resonates and connects to you in that particular situation.
Interesting. Now, how has the times changed for communicating with these gods? Would they still assist us now? I mean, because we've left them alone for such a long time, aren't they busy with other things now?
We should be telling them, listen, we just left you alone so you have a vacation.
Yeah. Now you've had your sabbatical, you're well rested. Now let's
right.
talk.
Now you have to get back to work. But actually, the gods are very happy to help us because they may not be as active as they were centuries ago, but that's mainly because you haven't had as many people calling them in. But they will still come and they will still connect to us because the power hasn't changed. So our contemporary mind waits for facts. While back then, when you think about it, people use their intuition more successfully. Okay. Right. So there's a deity, like I was saying, with Abundancia, where if you're connecting, okay, and you're really looking at it as this is an ancient deity and you're going to call this one in, okay, that's going to work for you. Or, as an example, if you're calling in an angel or an angel of prosperity, okay, or an angel of abundance, okay, that would help you financially or for wealth or prosperity. And either one that you call in is helping you realign yourself, with the infinite abundance of the universe. So it's kind of like when you're looking at the radio, and remember you used to change the channels by turning the knob? That just aged me, huh?
We used to have knobs.
I only saw it in pictures. But when you were turning the knob and tuning into a station, okay, then, you had to get the right frequency. This is pretty much the same thing. So when you're calling one in, it has to resonate with you and really be on your frequency. So like from Norse mythology, we have Flora, which is the goddess of abundance. And then in ancient times, like I said, that also connected to Abundancia. Same energy, gave different names. People are calling him from different places, okay? So, as an example, if you were calling that one in at the times of the North, you would probably be getting more cows. So now, since we're in modern world, it may be a windfall, or they may give you the urge to play certain lottery numbers. It may give you a very strong urge to ask for that raise that you've been putting off. So everything changes with the times, okay? But it changes in how you're getting the abundance, not that you're getting it or you're not getting it. So like the triple goddess has three aspects of female energy, the maiden, the mother, and the crone. So each symbolizing a different stage in the female life cycle. The crone, of course, being the older and the wiser. So whether you're calling that energy in different phases of your life to help you, or you're asking whatever your connection is, such as your guide, okay, the belief behind it and the force is going to attract them in. It's like a magnet. Okay? So as an example, if you were calling in a deity and you really don't believe in it, and you're saying, I think I'm going to give it a shot, okay, you're going to have a really ancient deity on your hands on the other side going, why should I bother? I'm taking my vacation. I'm drinking mead. I'm fine. They're going to go, let her call somebody else. I'm busy. So you just have to resonate.
So what would the triple goddess, what would they be able to help you with?
Well, it depends on the age. So if you're calling in, say, the maiden, okay, then that's usually more like that's young women. So then basically they could help you get the right relationship. They could help you find abundance in your life, and that could be career. It's whatever you're looking for at that point in your age. The other one, that's the mother, that helps with nurturing, with children, with giving the right advice to children, especially nowadays. Sometimes you go, oh, my God, what can I say to this one? Because even when you're trying to raise your children correctly, you have the influence of TV and different media that may or may not be positive, and then you have schools and other situations, and really you can only do so much, so you want to do your best. Okay, and then with the crone, basically that's somebody older, so you have hopefully more wisdom, and you can help other people more, and it will help you to be comfortable, as an example, to make the right decisions, to give you more energy, because just because you're older does not mean you're done, especially nowadays.
Okay, so what if you're between the mother and the crone?
And you call in whichever one you want. You would call in whichever one you resonate with. So as an example, say you decided you wanted a career and you didn't want any children. That's a conscious choice nowadays. It's not good or bad. Everybody resonates to what's right for them. Okay? And I know some wonderful career people that never got married. They don't have children. They're having a wonderful life. They're positive. They're supportive to their friends. You couldn't ask for somebody better to be on the planet with you. But society has this, outlook. So they would still call in the mother goddess, not because they're trying to be a mother. They would call that in so that they can be more nurturing. As an example, if somebody's a counselor, they need that nurturing energy to be able to help people and give them advice where they're not going, oh, go, don't do that. So they need to be more nurturing and positive and to be able to understand what that person is going through as an issue. So then they'd still call that energy in.
Okay, let's see. We have a couple more minutes left. So there's one more question I want to ask you. What are some tips for connecting with them?
Okay. Well, first of all, when you do this, you want to remember to use a form of psychic protection, since you may be opening a doorway to something to come through. Whether you're doing prayer of protection or whatever form you use, you need to use something. And then before you call them in, check with the reference department at your local library to make sure you bring in the right one. Because I've read some books that have given me the name of negative deities. Okay?
Oh, boy.
Reading a book, and it mentions the name of a deity, and you don't know who that is, and you get a bad feeling that tells you that you shouldn't connect to them, then listen to your intuition and don't connect. Or if you get an urge to do something, really pay attention to it. They're giving you intuitive messages to resolve what you have asked for, when you're asking for assistance. But again, when you go to the reference department, or you can just call the library, give them, say, a Greek or a Roman name or European name, and they will actually look up the name of the god or goddess or whoever you want to call in and tell you what their job happens to be. Okay, so as an example, let's say you asked healing deity for help. Okay, like Sedna, which is the Eskimo goddess, and she is the goddess of granting wishes, including healing. So she may be pointing you in the right direction to get your healing, perhaps to the right doctor, the right holistic person. There is also a Greek god honored by healers and physicians, actually. The god of medicine, the son of Apollo, who can also be called upon, named Asclepius.
Yeah.
I said Asclepius. Someday, But, very positive, but I always suggest whatever you do, make sure that you do self-defense first, some form of protection before you call in anyone or any being.
Oh. Okay, great. All right, we're coming down to closing. So I want to thank you again, Maria, for your wonderful font of information, and I want to thank everybody for listening to it. You can't watch us; you can listen to us here on Hidden Mysteries. And
people will know we're not using a script because look at that.
Yes,
I did that before with the name.
Yes. And And so please give Maria a call at 631-559-1248 and have a nice night. And thank you all for joining us. We'll see you next time on Hidden Mysteries.
Right. And may God bless you abundantly.